Throughout history, the rise and fall of brutal dictators have often been marked by violence, oppression, and ultimately, a dramatic end. Many of these leaders maintained their grip on power through fear, propaganda, and ruthless tactics, only to be overthrown by the very people they once controlled. Their executions often became symbols of justice or retribution, serving as stark reminders of the devastating consequences of unchecked power. This list examines 5 notorious dictators who met their end through execution, detailing their rise to power, oppressive regimes, and their final moments. Number 5. Maximilien Robespierre. Maximilien Robespierre, once a champion of the French Revolution, became synonymous with the Reign of Terror. Born in 1758, he initially advocated for equality, liberty, and fraternity. As a member of the Jacobin Club, Robespierre rose to prominence through his passionate speeches and strict adherence to revolutionary ideals. However, his belief in achieving a republic of virtue through mass executions led to widespread fear. Under his rule, tens of thousands were guillotined, including King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette. His policies, which once aimed to create an egalitarian society, spiraled into paranoia and violence as the revolution devoured its own leaders. Robespierre never married and was known for his ascetic lifestyle, dedicating his life entirely to his revolutionary ideals. Robespierre's downfall came when members of the National Convention turned against him, fearing they would be next. On July 27, 1794, he was arrested along with his closest allies. After a botched suicide attempt left him with a shattered jaw, he was taken to the guillotine the next day. Crowds gathered to witness the execution of the man who had once ordered countless others to the same fate. His death marked the end of the Reign of Terror and a shift away from radical revolutionary policies. Robespierre's execution serves as a cautionary tale of how idealism can become tyranny when power is left unchecked. His legacy remains deeply controversial in France, embodying both revolutionary fervor and oppressive extremism. Number 4. Benito Mussolini. Benito Mussolini, the founder of Italian fascism, rose to power in 1922 and ruled Italy with an iron fist for over 2 decades. Born in 1883, Mussolini started as a socialist journalist before shifting to nationalist ideologies. His regime emphasized militarism, authoritarian control, and aggressive expansionism. Mussolini aligned Italy with Nazi Germany during World War II, a decision that ultimately contributed to his downfall. His forces committed numerous atrocities in Ethiopia, Libya, and the Balkans, and his oppressive domestic policies silenced political dissent through the Oviara, his secret police. Mussolini was married to Rachele Guidi and had several children, although he maintained numerous extramarital affairs, including his relationship with Clara Petacci. As Allied forces advanced into Italy in 1945, Mussolini attempted to flee to Switzerland with his mistress, Clara Petacci. He was captured by Italian partisans near Lake Como on April 27, 1945. The next day, both Mussolini and Petacci were executed by firing squad. Their bodies were later taken to Milan, where they were hung upside down in Piazzale Loreto as a public warning. Mussolini's execution was a turning point for Italy, signaling the collapse of fascism and the end of his disastrous war efforts. The images of his execution remain iconic, illustrating the dramatic fall of a dictator who once sought to reshape Europe. Number 3. Nicolae Ceaușescu. Nicolae Ceaușescu came to power in Romania in 1965, initially gaining popularity for his defiance of Soviet influence. Born in 1918, Ceaușescu presented himself as a champion of Romanian independence. However, his regime soon devolved into one of the most repressive dictatorships in Eastern Europe. His secret police, the Securitate, maintained a climate of fear through mass surveillance, arbitrary arrests, and brutal crackdowns on dissent. Ceaușescu's economic policies, particularly his plan to pay off foreign debt through extreme austerity, caused severe food and energy shortages that left the population in misery. He was married to Elena Ceaușescu, who held significant influence within the regime, and the couple lived in extravagant luxury while their people suffered. The Romanian Revolution of December 1989 ended Ceaușescu's reign, After delivering a final ill-fated speech in Bucharest, he and his wife Elena fled the capital, but were soon captured. On December 25, 1989, they faced a swift military trial, where they were convicted of genocide and corruption. The trial lasted less than an hour, and both were executed by firing squad immediately afterward. The images of their lifeless bodies were broadcast worldwide, marking a violent but cathartic end to decades of oppression. Ceaușescu's death remains a powerful symbol of how a leader, once celebrated, became universally despised due to the suffering he inflicted upon his nation. Number 2. Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, born in 1937, ruled Iraq from 1979 to 2003 with a regime characterized by fear, violence, and oppression. Rising through the ranks of the Ba'ath Party, Hussein became president after orchestrating a purge of political opponents. His rule saw the Iran-Iraq War, the brutal suppression of Kurdish and Shiite populations, and the use of chemical weapons against civilians, most infamously in Halabja. His cult of personality and vast network of secret police ensured his absolute control, while his lavish lifestyle contrasted starkly with the suffering of the Iraqi people. Hussein was married to Sajida Talfa, with whom he had several children, though his private life was often overshadowed by his public persona. Following the 2003 US-led invasion, Hussein was captured while hiding in a rural farmhouse. He was tried by the Iraqi Special Tribunal and found guilty of crimes against humanity for the mass execution of 148 Shiite villagers in Dujai. On December 30, 2006, he was hanged in Baghdad. The execution was filmed and released online, sparking both celebrations and condemnation across the globe. Hussein's death marked the end of an era of fear, but left Iraq fractured and unstable. His execution highlighted the deep divisions within Iraqi society and the long-lasting consequences of his brutal rule. Number 1. Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi seized power in Libya in 1969, establishing himself as a revolutionary leader who promised prosperity and equality. Born in 1942, Gaddafi initially implemented social reforms that improved healthcare and education. However, his eccentric leadership style and increasingly oppressive tactics soon overshadowed these achievements. Gaddafi suppressed dissent with brutal efficiency, funded international terrorism, and ruled Libya with an unpredictable, autocratic hand. His lavish lifestyle and family's corruption became notorious, even as ordinary Libyans struggled under his rule. Gaddafi was married to Safia Farkash, with whom he had several children, and he maintained a cult of personality that depicted him as the brother leader. In 2011, inspired by the Arab Spring, Libyans rose against Gaddafi's regime. NATO intervened militarily, tipping the balance in favor of the rebels. After months of intense fighting, Gaddafi was captured in his hometown of Sirte on October 20, 2011. His final moments were recorded on cell phones, showing him being beaten and humiliated by rebel forces before being killed. His death brought an end to 42 years of dictatorship, but Libya was left in a state of chaos and civil conflict in the years that followed. Gaddafi's execution became a symbol of revolutionary justice and the dangers of absolute power. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Until next time.